This fall, as a voter, you owe it to yourself to do a reality check on election myths that are being spread nationwide as a result of an unprecedented level of campaign spending. 2010 election myth number 1. The economy was hurt by the 2009-2010 stimulus. The reality is that the stimulus package of 2009 was successful, but it was too small to sustain the recovery. As Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Krugman has noted, the actual lessons of 2009-2010 are that scare stories about stimulus are wrong, and that stimulus works when it is applied, but it wasn't applied on a sufficient scale, and we need another round. For there to be a full recovery, people need to be working, and that means we must provide jobs if needed. Election myth number 2. The Republican pledge to America is a real plan to fix the deficit. The reality is that while the document talks about cutting spending, it is very short on details, naming only one program, the Asset Relief Program, that needs to be eliminated, saving less than 0.5% of their proposed tax cuts for the wealthiest 2% of Americans. They say they won't touch programs for seniors, veterans, and our troops. So what's left? Howard Gleckman of the Nonpartisan Tax Policy Center has done the math. As he points out, the only way to balance the budget by 2020 while simultaneously making the Bush tax cuts permanent and protecting all the programs Republicans say they won't cut is to completely abolish the rest of the federal government. No more national parks. No more Small Business Administration loans, no more export subsidies, no more National Institute of Health, no more Medicaid. 1/3 of its budget pays for long-term care for our parents and others with disabilities. No more child health or child nutrition programs, no more highway construction, no more Homeland Security. The reality is that we won't solve our deficit problem until we quit taxing work and start taxing wealth. Election myth number 3. The health care bill is a disaster and will actually increase costs. The reality is the Congressional Budget Office estimates a 3% decrease in health insurance premiums. The Business Roundtable BRT Hewitt Associates study found that employers that offer and contribute to health insurance coverage for their workers could experience cost savings of as much as $3,000 a person by expanding access to coverage and enacting various cost-cutting reforms included in the Act. Reforms already initiated on 9/23/2010. No lifetime limits on coverage. Children no longer denied coverage for pre-existing conditions. Coverage expansion for adult dependents until age 26. Prohibits insurers from rescinding coverage. Free preventive care. Unrestricted doctor choice. Level charges for emergency services. Patient-friendly appeals process. Small business impact. The changes that kick in on September 23rd also apply to small businesses with 50 employees or more that already offered insurance coverage prior to reform. Cost savings to come. Reducing premiums, reducing costs for small businesses, helping pay for early retirees, reduced amounts of your insurance that subsidizes care for the uninsured, preventing bankruptcy, and illness prevention. Election myth number 4 as it applies to Pennsylvania voters. We shouldn't tax Marcellus Shale gas drilling companies. The reality is that Pennsylvania Republicans, including gubernatorial candidate Tom Corbett, say we shouldn't tax gas companies because it will drive the companies to go to other states. However, the reality is that every other state with major reserves has an extraction tax on gas already, so there's no place for these companies to go. The Marcellus Shale companies have donated millions to Republican candidates and lobbyists to block tax legislation in Pennsylvania. Corbett's campaign's largest contributor is the gas drilling industry. Tax revenues from the companies is needed to create a cleanup fund to help preserve groundwater and stream quality throughout the area's mined. It is our hope that debunking these election myths will make you a more informed voter when you step into the polling booth in November. This reality check is brought to you by the 2010 Cheltenham Democratic Committee of Pennsylvania.